Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on the 2004 film Catwoman. Now, as you know, Catwoman is meant to be a 2004 superhero film that was meant to be loosely based on DC Comics character Catwoman, as well as being directed by a no-namer director who was only credited for doing two other directing work, which was a 2001 film and a 2008 one called Fire and Ice: The Dragon Chronicles. Now, Catwoman itself, I would say, is more like a feminist, woke, and sort of female empowerment story that feels way in force and doesn't really feature the characters. I also know originally there was meant to be a Catwoman spin-off film after Batman Returns. That never happens. Now, the premise of the film is meant to be about Patience, who, as I call her now, as not Selina Kyle, works for a kind of cosmetic company doing artwork and so on. After visiting the R&D laboratory, she ends up getting axed off, and after being resurrected by a bunch of cats, one of which is meant to be a Egyptian Manu cat known as Midnight, she finds out she has the ability of a cat. And this is pretty much a rehash of Batman Returns, and it feels like a major rehash. So of course we kind of see how Patience tries to find out the reasons behind her murder, as well as finding out more about the cosmetic cream that apparently has dangerous side effects. And this is pretty much a forceful, feminist, woke, and kind of film, portraying cosmetic products as basically messing up your looks, basically having male characters like George and also other male characters portrayed as arrogant, selfish, and hot-headed. And when you kind of got the detective character Tom Lone, he feels like a poor man's version of Bruce Wayne and doesn't really feel interesting. And I feel when you kind of got Patience's friend Sally, she feels like that friend you would have at work who just no one wants to be in a relationship with. And as interesting as that she's played by Lois from Family Guy. And I would say when the film does have camera work, you can kind of tell it goes all wonky, not really knowing what they're doing, and so on. And again, when you kind of got Sharon Stone as the villain, she doesn't really feel like an interesting villain. She just feels like a female empowerment for basically not letting cosmetics and that affect you. And I also feel as well, when you kind of got Selina's mentor, Ophelia, she could have been interesting if they made her a sort of older Selina Kyle. And I feel personally the film should have been Helena Wayne being Catwoman. And I feel like there were intentions to do that. It would have been interesting to see her try and save her father's company, trying to see her sort of go beyond the distance. And keep in mind, Helena Wayne is an interesting character if given to the right writers. I think the problem is when you've got a feminist storyline, you know it's going to fail, much like Batwoman. Also, when you kind of got a feminist character like Diane, when you kind of got basically other feminist-like characters, they're not gonna work. I feel if you've got a female character who has an important lead, like She-Ra from She-Ra, the Princess of Power, also when you kind of got Witch from Witch, also Sailor Moon and the Sailor Scouts, you want them to be relatable characters. You want them to sort of be what, kids from the 2000s or the 90s were. when things weren't always meant to be in forceful, feminist, woke storylines. And I know originally there was meant to be an animated film that just never got off the ground because of what happened with the film's failure. And there was also a Catwoman game. What's interesting is Jennifer Hale voices the main character, and instead of Hale Berry. I think, to me at least, Catwoman tries to be good. It tries to throw in this kind of cult-like storyline mixed with feminist, woke, and so on. So I think, once again, it definitely deserves a thumbs down. Not interesting, not great, and not one of the best. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.